I'm trying here to take an engineering approach to modeling and simulating the flow of events in online learning. It's a very imperfect attempt, but I think worth something. The Create module here, using this software called Arena by the Rockwell Corporation, creates events, actually sequences of events, in which the first activity in a particular event is the instructor providing a prompt. I'm modeling this as a service. I'm trying to use service-oriented architecture here and modeling the things that instructors and others do for students as services. So very briefly, the instructor provides a prompt. The student receives a prompt. That's an activity. It's not a service. Student hopefully reflects upon the assignment. This is a decide module. The student may or may not ask a question about the assignment before going forward. This side over here coming out of the decide module is yes. This one down below is no. So if the student does ask a question, then the instructor provides assistance, again as a service. If not, the student produces a response in either case, either path here. Once the student produces a response to the assignment prompt, the instructor provides feedback as a service and may or may not make referral to another set of possible services provided by the institution sponsoring the course. Again, this is yes, this is no. Let's assume for simplicity at the moment that the instructor provides feedback, does not make a referral. Don't worry about station 3. It's part of the model. It's not a meaningful activity in the model. The student receives the feedback. Student reflects on the feedback. The student may ask to discuss the feedback with the instructor or not. If the student does, then we go back up here around and so forth, loop back around until eventually the discussion with the professor ends. The student either accepts the feedback of the instructor or not. Acceptance is internalized as learning, and that's the end of that particular instance of flow. If the student rejects what the instructor has provided, the instance also ends at that point. Now, what I've modeled here is a set of additional services provided by the institution as a part of the service-oriented architecture. In other words, the instructor not only provides his or her services directly to the student, but may also refer the student to a set of additional services such as help with writing, help with math, counseling. This could be career counseling or testing for learning disabilities or whatever. And I've listed also academic advising here as a service. Again, these route and station things are just parts of the model. So what I'm modeling here is the fact that if a student receives one of these additional services as part of an event, then it gets routed back up here to station 3, and eventually the student either accepts the feedback or not. So let's run this and see what happens. Let's run this and see what happens. Well, in this particular simulation, it appears that the students are tending to reject the help of the professor, but that doesn't have to be that way. Some of them are receiving some additional services here. One of the major problems with this model is that it assumes that the learning events happen sequentially rather than in batches. Now, a discussion board could be like this because students don't, well, sometimes they do all answer at the same time, a few hours before the thing is due, but writing assignments tend to come in batches, and the way that this particular model is built does not reflect that if assignments are received in batches, that in terms of engineering and something called theory of constraints, the instructor becomes the bottleneck. In other words, the instructor receives the batch and then has to process every instance in the batch, and that creates delay and a pattern of flow that is suboptimal. But anyway, I hope that this model and this simulation may be of some interest and possibly even some insight to you. Thank you.